My name is Rich Kaplan, and I moved to Ashland in 2005. And one of the first things I did was to join OLLI. So I moved here in April, and SOLIR at the time was finishing up its spring term. So I wasn't able to join right away, but in the fall I did. And I took classes initially and then taught for quite a while ethics-related classes. And pretty early on, I thought it would be a good idea to get onto the OLLI Council. So I did run, I think, in 2006, and was not successful, but I was recruited to the curriculum committee as a backup. And then the next year was the chair of the curriculum committee, and I ran again for the OLLI Council and was successful that time. And so I was on the council for 3 years and president in 2010-11. So and I continued to teach ethics and a wine-related class for quite a while. Well, I think the transition from SOLIR to OLLI, it was kind of yin and yang. It presented lots of opportunity to spend money in areas that we hadn't spent money before because we didn't have it, and also to control the costs so we didn't overspend. And of course, one of the biggest issues was growth of the organization in that time period, starting around 2007, when we got our first grant and then got the first endowment. And it was pretty much made clear to us that we needed to grow the organization in order to go from grants to endowment. So we put a lot of effort into outreach to spread the word about OLLI around the region. And we actually grew, I think, in the 4 years between when I was president and we got the first grant, over 90% in the number of members. And then, of course, the challenge was not to grow too quickly beyond that so that we didn't outstrip our resources. And we were able to continue to provide a positive experience for our members. When I was president, we ended up around 1,300 members, which was, I think, a 5% increase over the year before. But as I said, 90% growth between 2007 and 2010, which was just really not sustainable. I know there was some concern expressed in general about wanting to keep SOLIR the same, and that would the switch to OLLI create a circumstance in which people that were really comfortable with SOLIR were no longer saw that OLLI was the place that they wanted to be. And also, what type of control might the Osher Foundation put on OLLI, and would that be acceptable? And I think over time we found that it was going to be very beneficial, and the pretty much hands-off by the Osher Foundation. We were required, and I'm sure still are, to provide an annual report which highlights what we've done during the year. And but there's not much that we really had to change. So I think there were concerns, but those concerns were overcome. Just the increase in the number of courses we maintained. I think by the time I left, we had about 260 courses for the year, and it was always a challenge to make sure you got enough courses so that you could accommodate the members' choices. And so I think that was also about a 5% increase over the year before, and so we kind of kept pace between the membership growth and the growth in courses so that people could have enough courses that they felt comfortable with. And I think the other really, and it goes still, of course, true today, is the establishment of the one credit program for OLLI Courses. So by the end of 2010-11 academic year, we had about 20% of our courses having been accepted by the academic departments at the university. which just by itself really established a closer coordination with the university, which we had never really had, and from a standpoint of the coursework. And it really, and we also benefited by that change. The university gave us free use of the HEC rooms in Medford, so didn't charge us for that. And the one-credit students, if you were eligible, you were able to use the Hannon Library, which for most people, unless you were friends of the Hannon Library member, was something new. And I hope people do use that, because it's a great really benefit. Yeah, real great benefit. So I'm glad. I think that was really a significant event. There were a group of folks here at OLLI that were intrigued by the National Fish and Wildlife Forensics Laboratory, wanted to learn more about it, and out of that came an offer from the laboratory that if they would train a group of OLLI members to go around the community libraries and public schools with basically boxes of items to show, to demonstrate what the forensics laboratory does. And so I think it lasted for a couple of years, and it was very interesting both for the OLLI members who participated and helped the lab, because they did not have the personage to actually do that themselves. So we kind of extended their ability to do their outreach in the community to make people more aware of what was going on there. Well, I'm not sure there was a huge obstacle, but I think just having the council work together, there's always concerns by council members about their available time and how to best spend their time doing things for OLLI. And so we did have, and I think that still continues today, council members act as liaison with committees. And sometimes that is time consuming. And so I think just to encourage council members to do more than just simply attend the meetings, but to actually work and do other things within the organization. And actually I suspect that that's a lot more intense now than it was in 2010. But it was new. Being on the council at that time didn't really require an awful lot of effort, just be at the meetings, and so we had tried to expand that. At that point, all the class scheduling, so there are two parts of it. There's the class scheduling, and then there's the member scheduling into the classes. All the class scheduling was done manually, and so we would meet prior to the term with large sheets of paper with the names of the classes on them and the available times during the day, and that all had to be done manually. We used a lot of erasers. And so that was a real challenge. So I think after I was no longer on the council, moving towards more automated ways of doing that, both the scheduling of the classes and the scheduling of the members into the classes made a big difference. Because of the growth of the organization and the growth of the courses, at some point it just became impossible to do it manually. So we started looking for ways to do that, but were not successful. But later on, councils were able to do that. I think one of the things that was a little concerning is we had about 30 new, by the time I left the council, we had about 30 new instructors. So finding ways to make sure that they were comfortable with what you needed to do at OLLI in order to be a successful instructor, and putting on seminars and workshops for them, that was important. And there was a growing use of, I guess I'd call it existing materials for classes, such as movies and maybe materials from the Learning Company or similar organizations. And we needed to make sure that the instructor didn't just simply turn the machine on, let it run, and then walk out and not be able to answer questions or elaborate on that material. And so we had a number of instructors who were taking the easy way out and not really prepared to manage the class and answer questions and go beyond the materials that they were presenting. So finding ways to either encourage them to get better prepared or to not present that material was a challenge. Some people felt very strongly that they should be able to do that. And I think another issue is that we might have instructors that were very focused on a particular area and didn't want to bring in alternate points of view from what they had. So I wouldn't necessarily call them conspiracy theorists, but they felt that what they were presenting was all that needed to be presented, and we really wanted to have an environment in which you can do that, but you also needed to say, here are some opposing points of view that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm giving that to you for your consideration. And so there were some instructors that were really unwilling to do that, and that was a challenge as well. This is an opportunity to take classes in your area of interest without exams and without a lot of homework. Some of the classes have substantial homework, but that's not the majority. And that here's an opportunity to be with other people in the community that have similar views perhaps as you have, or at least you can have discussions with them. And it's amazing that if you're a member of OLLI and you go to the symphony, you'll see the same people at the symphony or at the chamber music concerts or at library, at Schneider Museum openings. It's a very tight community from that point of view. And I think one of the best things is Ashland is really a magnet for people to, after they retire, and they want to settle in a smaller community. It allows them to more easily integrate into the community. I think was certainly my experience. It was the first thing that I did was join OLLI, and it then opened up lots of other opportunities for me.